All right, we are at 3 o'clock. Let's call this Churchill County Library Board of Trustees board meeting into session. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. This brings us to our first opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, let's go ahead and move to the roll call of members. Maddie, would you like to start us off?
Present.
Sari Kaler.
Sue Segura.
Jessica Rowe.
Ryan Swarzik.
All right, thank you. And the verification of the posting of the agenda. Pam?
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on September 18th between the hours of 2 and 4 at the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Pam. And item number 6 is the consideration and possible action of the approval of the agenda as submitted or revised.
Okay, I move to find that staff shortages in the clerk treasurer's.
Actually, Maddie, that's the next agenda
Oh,
item.
I'm
This is-
sorry.
Thank you, though. Thank you. This
Is the agenda.
just
Yes,
approving the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you, Maddie. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Thank you, Sue. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. And now, agenda item 7, consideration and possible action regarding the approval of minutes of the meeting held on July 11th, 2025 special meeting, and July 24th, 2025.
I'm all ready. I move to find that staff shortages in the clerk treasurer's office have caused delays to the completion of minutes and approve the minutes of the special meeting held on July 11th, 2025, and the meeting held on July 24th, 2025.
Thank you, Maddie. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on those items at all? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, guys. So now it is time for the Library Board of Trustees report. Does anybody have anything that they would like to put into this report at this time?
I do, of course. First off, I want to say thank you, Miss Penny, for being our interim director during this time. I am just so grateful for you and all that you do, and thank you for stepping up to the plate and serving our library and our community. I am very, very grateful for that. I would also like to send a big thank you out to all of the staff who have been working like crazy to keep the library afloat. I'm very grateful for that too. I would also like to send a welcome out to the new page, and I'm very bad with names and I mess them up all the time, Jilliana. So I want to give a big welcome to her. And the next thing I want to say is I am very, very thankful for the library's author series. I was able to attend the last one they had, which was on Tuesday. And it was Miss J.A. Ford was presenting her book. And at first, I didn't know if I would like it too much going and doing this author series because I'm not really into the genre of her books, but it was so thrilling being there. It was phenomenal because she didn't just talk about her books, but she talked about her writing process and everything that goes into it. And I have to, I guess, send out a public notice to anyone that wants to get into writing or learn about new authors. Definitely come to these author series because they are phenomenal. It was just so fascinating to hear the big old long process that she goes through with writing. And I believe the term is indie writer, one that self-publishes. Is that the right term? And so she told us about that aspect of her career and where she started and where she's at now. So it was very entertaining. So thank you, Miss Penny, and the library, I guess, for having those author sessions. They're a lot of fun.
I appreciate that, Sari. For the public, where are those posted? Are they up on the website? Yeah. Well, we'll look to the website, and then, yes, the posted calendar has those too. Thanks for letting us know that.
Yeah. I would also like to say one more thing. This is more for us board members, and it's a request. I would like to make a request when we have a big ticket item on the agenda, if we can have a little bit more discussion with it, because these board meetings are the only time we get to talk to each other because of open meeting law. And when there's a big item on the agenda, I feel better I would like more discussion before a motion is made, because I feel like if a motion is made, then I'm just going off of my opinions, and I would love to hear all of the board members' perspectives. And so it's more of a united vote that's being made rather than just a bunch of different opinions and not really, I guess what I'm asking for is more cohesiveness so we can learn others' perspectives and really understand the process. And I ask this because when a motion is made, I just don't want to leave here filled with anxiety or misunderstanding or not understanding it thoroughly and not knowing for sure if I put my best foot forward for the library.
I appreciate that comment, Sari. I think that, and we always need the reminder, right? I think that the structure of a meeting allows us places for that discussion as we get onto that agenda item, whichever one, even the small ticket items, whichever one that you feel like you want that space for discussion. We have room inside that agenda item to take that on. And when you have a motion on the floor, you still have room for that discussion, right? So all of us can remember to take what we need as board members to ask those questions and to have that discussion within the bounds of that agenda. Now, if we start to slide off of it, that's when Jeff will kind of pull us back in and remind us to stay on what was placed, right? But you're right, that we all do need to do our due diligence and to also reach out ahead of time to the different people and ask the questions that we need to come in prepared too. Yeah, so well placed. Does anybody else have anything in the trustee report that they'd like to put?
I would like to say something. I want to say thank you, Sari. I think more discussion is good. I think that would be a good thing. And possibly this is a question. I'm never sure exactly where my questions would fit best, but I'm curious, where is the full-time employee position that's open and possibly waiting on the director? Where is that? It's kind of sitting.
Okay, so I noticed that there's a part of the director's report where she is addressing that. So why don't we go ahead and, start that conversation and have that discussion under that agenda item? I think that she gives us a little bit of insight into roughly what
Where
has
that-
been done to try to make sure that that's not getting too stuck.
Okay,
But there are
great.
some issues
That
with
sounds
it.
like
Yeah.
the right spot
Yeah,
in the,
no, good
in
question.
the agenda. So thank you.
Anything that we want to put out in here for a report, Maddie? I mean,
I think I really enjoyed. I did go by when they had the biographies out, the secret kind of biography bags, and my family got a couple of those, and it was fun. It was neat. We didn't get all the way through all the biographies, but we did talk about the people, and we read some excerpts and that kind of thing, and it was fun. It was good.
That sounds really connective, and I know that the efforts that the library staff have made have been just really well received. So thank you. Does anybody else have anything that they want to put into this for our report? It's been a busy month. It's been a really active month, and it's been one where, a lot has been done in what feels like now a very short amount of time. So I'd just like to echo what Sari started here in thanking the library staff and then in thanking Penny for really making sure that we're still serving the public and we're keeping that as our priority and keeping that strategy in play while we're doing some of this other business for the long-term pieces.
I'd just like to add one
Yeah.
thing. When you recommend somebody you haven't worked with for 25 years, I walked out of here going, I'm sure she can do it. I've seen her do it. So I just want to thank you for all your hard work.
I agree, Sue. So well placed. I mean, everybody has put a great deal of effort in, but Penny has put in a lot, and I've seen it myself, so thank you. At that point, I think we can move on to our director's report, and you've given us a lot to work with, so go ahead and walk us through.
It turned green, yay. First of all, the word afloat was used earlier, and in a lot of ways, it's true the library is being kept afloat, but really a better word, the library is thriving. We are growing even under, challenging situations. Staffing, certainly I have some input, community input. We really need to move beyond, we're not afloat anymore, we're thriving. And I, in particular, am being very attentive and purposeful in ensuring that the new director has what I think he needs, to help smooth that transition. So I just wanted to start with that. Staffing, as you know, the new Paige has started, and she's a lovely young woman who's working through the Jump Start program in high school, so very accomplished on her own, and is appreciating the quiet of the library, and as her former employment was something a little more chaotic. As we all know, John Hung will begin on October 20th. He will start with HR first thing in the morning, and then he'll come over to the library. I suspect that he and I will spend most of the day getting through. I'm sure he has a list of questions, and I have lots of information to share. The following morning at 8 a.m., though, I am going to do an informal welcome so that board members, I'll invite the museum director, and I'm not sure all who yet, but just a quick little hello, we're glad you're here, and if you wanted a chance to chat with them, that would, could be a good time as well.
October 21st at 8 o'clock.
Yes. And then the open technical services position, I'm glad that Patty brought it up. It's frankly a nightmare, and I understand it's county policy. When that position was vacated, apparently during, per county policy, it has to be left open for a certain amount of time, or you can submit a waiver, and the former director did submit that waiver. I followed up. The waiver was put in front of a committee. They approved the waiver, which was great. However, last I knew, that somewhere out of that corner came that we cannot post that position until the new director starts. I did ask him, and I have not followed up since then, if there's any way that we can post that. Traditionally, it's 2 weeks, I guess, so she was going to ask and see if it could be posted around October 6th, so that, wouldn't it be great if the first thing that he does is bring on a new staff member, you know? So, as it says in the report, ultimately, the library is working 80 hours a week short staff. But we're still thriving. There's the win, but 80 hours is a big deal. This has come up before, but on the financial matters, I just wanted to clarify that the detailed budget report is not a true, you know, if it's cut on July 31st, it's not exact in how much money we've spent, because many bills come in later than that, and then they're paid later. But for the benefit of the new director, I am working, or have asked the children's librarian and the adult librarian in particular, because they have the largest budget lines, to give us their best estimate, so that when he begins, then he'll know basically what percentage of the budget that he has left. And I can assure you that, you know, we haven't gone crazy, you know, spending and that sort of thing. So he's gonna, based on the amount of budget that was approved in the first place, he's, I believe, in a good position to still have the financial resources that he's gonna need throughout the rest of the fiscal year. After school, I'm so happy. I wasn't here last year, but apparently it got a little bit chaotic. But Nick Delgado from JPO and Tom and Magdalena and the whole staff who were there, they had an idea what was going on and how we can prevent it or improve it. So Nick is back and really doing a great job he's not there just to tell the kids what to do, what not to do. He's speaking with them, not at them. And I believe he's really working to build good relationships between people in authority and young people. He's kind of the cool guy. So that's been great. We did, you know, upgrade some signing, since, you know, you guys know about that. And we had the parking barrier signs out for a couple of weeks. We've not had to put them back out. That's not to say that we won't, but kind of further in my report, I'm very excited that we're going to be starting some STEAM programming again. And this is where I learned that the calendar goes out far beyond, because Tom and I are working on that, and it was pointed out to me, but the October calendar already went out. Whoops. But I'm okay with that, because our target audience are the youth that are already going to be in the building. And this will give us an opportunity to work out the kinks and get things in a more pristine situation prior to it going officially on the calendar. So I did share with a staff member, because they were concerned about our partners and that they might think poorly of our PR management. And I suspect that they're going to be okay knowing that we're offering great programming for, you know, a number of people, but youth in particular. Any questions about that? All righty. Training. In a nutshell, at our last meeting, I asked where the first aid kit was, or the emergency response plan. And really nobody, they had some basic ideas. So I do have the first aid kit updated. The AED is all up to date and that sort of thing. We do have a staff meeting tomorrow. We'll begin our training we'll do some evacuation work first. And then I've not contacted Kim yet, but I plan to. I'm curious if the county has things available, for example, in conflict resolution or building work relationships, and I'm not saying that we do or do not need that. What I am saying is everybody can benefit from refresher and perhaps new knowledge in those areas. So I do want to see what the county has available first, because our training budget is extremely minuscule. So to bring in outside people would be really cost prohibitive. So that's kind of the plan there. I do mention What's that?
Where's your defibrillator located? I've never seen it.
It's back in the staff lunchroom.
You think that's an appropriate place?
That's part of,
Okay.
I did send out an email kind of countywide in that I'm asking for assistance as who can help. And that's one of the things, that, in fact, it's a question at the end of this is, how can we get an effective and proper site evaluation to see, because I have a pretty strong background, but I'm not current on, the current day regulations. So I can make some great leeway, but I also know my limitations. So, that may very well be something that needs to be addressed. Under training, we luckily were able to send Magdalena out for a conference in New Mexico, and she came back extremely excited. This conference focused on what can small libraries do with limited resources. And right off the bat, there's a possible $10,000 grant that she'll be applying for that will help to bring math learning into the library in a fun way, not just a piece of paper. And they'll be celebrating in particular 3 holidays, Pi Day, gosh, I don't remember the other 2. Anyway, I've asked her to continue with that application process, and I'll pass that on to John so that he can do that.
I'd like to request when we spend the county's money on training, that we see something in writing, what they learned or what they got out of it, or I'd love to hear a presentation from the employees.
Yeah, I have asked her for that already. Just today she says, I promise I have information for you, but this is time sensitive. This application's due next week. But I will, we'll get something done like that.
Thank
At
you.
minimum, I'll get the written report passed forward, but I agree that in person would probably be
Perfect. Thank
great.
you.
I appreciate that you're doing that and that you're doing that with all of the stuff that you've been working on this month as school started up as well. And I love that your staff has a strong sense of prioritization and that you've been helping that. But I agree.
Well, in part, that I'm not going to take credit where credit's not due. That was in process. The funding of it was questionable, and it was under a grant, and so, but we got we got that part taken care of. The training for E-rate essentially can provide funding to certain entities, schools and libraries being one of them, to help support SIPA filters in particular. SIPA is the Child Internet Protection Act. That costs money. It can also help support internet services into the building and that sort of thing. It is my understanding that the prior director, and I'm not agreeing, well, I guess I do disagree, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong. The spirit of a library is that it is open. We're not banning books. We're not limiting the internet. It's open. However, in this day and age, so I am sending Tom to that training because that's his area of expertise. And then I will turn that conversation over to John. But as it says in the report, I really, really strongly support SIPA filtering to help protect our children. Right now, an adult will sign the application, and it says your child is going to have open access. Having worked with children so long, it's not enough. And if the board and John move forward with this, it will be tied in with their library card so that if it's a child logging onto the computer, if the filters exist, then the filter would only be on while that child is logged in. Any adult, anybody over 18, there will be no limitations. So I think it's an extremely fair, responsible way to meet everybody's needs. But again, that'll be pushed forward to John, and we'll see where that goes. Any questions on that area?
I just think, I did notice that in your report, and I did notice the dates on both of those pieces, and we'll let we'll let John get his feet under him and the staff kind of get to know them, but we do have a library board meeting coming up at the end of the month. And if Magdalena and Tom both want to give a little bit of the insight that they're getting from those conferences, that might be a great board meeting to do it. I think that with SIPA and this idea of filtering, we can start the conversation, but I think that that would be something where we might want to know more ourselves before we advise. So Tom might be well placed to teach us a little
It
bit.
is definitely a much larger conversation, and many of the things I'm doing right now is simply laying the groundwork.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're
no,
doing to do that.
I'm not sure how much the average librarian knows about inspecting the first aid kit, about having evacuation drills, about, I don't know what they don't know. So, like I said, it's very much about laying the groundwork, and then it'll be picked up or not, but I will look myself in the mirror and know that I gave it my best shot. Alrighty, Magdalena's been busy. She's got a lunchtime book club rolling out, an adult spelling bee. We got the medal in for that the other day. That's going to be a lot of fun. Please note, I want to give credit to where credit is due. So please pay attention to those names, and if you see the staff, I'd love it if you share with them your feelings, plus or minus, but about giving credit. I particularly am excited about this Franken-Toy adventure. Our library assistant Lily is spearheading this. There's a picture there of some things that she and a sister made. So we're collecting stuffed animals and toys and things that can be mixed and matched and hot glued together and take home your own little Franken-Toy. So we are going to do 2 sessions. We are posting QR codes for reservations. Reservation is not necessary. However, if we have a better idea how many people that intend to come, it'll just help us to, be more organized on that day. But the STEAM programs are going to be coding, drones, and 3D printing. To date, 3D printing is, I can get online, put in a request, and Tom will print it for me, assuming it's not too big. But I really want this expanded into how do we do that? And so there is a process that, yes, they can find a file online and see what it's going to look like, but things beyond my knowledge level, things have to be done to that file to prepare it to send it to the 3D printer. So that's the whole goal of that process. Is yes, they're going to have something really cool at the end, but they're going to learn the process in the meantime. Drones.
I'd like to see on the technology that goes out to people my age. I'm not kidding you. If I know he's teaching Excel, I'm going to be there. If I know he's teaching something that I need or need to, because I don't think that we do enough in our community for technology with our age, or even do a class at the Senior Citizen Center.
And Tom was doing that for a while. I spoke to him recently because I wasn't entirely up to speed on that. But because of staffing, to do the outreach outside of the building is a little more challenging. So my thought was to start with this in the building. I am reaching out, though, to the Senior Citizens Center, to Homestead, and I want to see if there's a kind of, I know there's hospice in town, but is there a coordinator or somebody that, my goal is to, again, begin those partnerships, get face-to-face, say, here's what we've got, how can we help you? A policy that's going to be coming forward to the board next year, or next meeting, will be about developing what's called an institutional library card. So let's say, for example, that the Homestead gets this institutional card. They'll have a list of approved users. So their clients could say, will you go check this out for me? And then they could come down and do that. Or, in particular, when staffing gets a little more, at one point we were serving homebound folks. So that reminds me, that was a question I forgot to ask Jeff about that. I'll get that later. So whether it's us dropping things off to them or they're sending a staff member over. I'm also told that CART is going to, and I have not confirmed this, but the CART will begin using us as a regular stop somewhere in their route. And so I dare say that there's some opportunities there. But right now, working within our means, but to thrive, I suspect that we'll have some strong information on how that will go by the time we have our next meeting. We did change the VR system for reasons I don't know. It was only available one afternoon a week. And Tom came to me and said, I'm not sure why. I said, I agree. So the VR system is now available all of the time. The staff know how to get a person started on it if they don't already know. There will be, in case of a situation where there's a lot of people that are interested, there will be a 15-minute time limit. Then they can switch, and we'll negotiate that. But I think it's obviously a great expansion of a service that's well loved. Our equipment is very old, so John was putting together a grant for makerspace things, and don't tell the CLA, but we're going to be asking them for an updated VR system. Worst they can say is no. Alrighty, under general information, the proclamation of library card sign up was done, and Magdalena, in my absence, was happy to go over there and get her picture taken, and it was posted in the paper, so that was fun. You get excited in funny ways. Mine was this great set of donated puzzles. These are high-quality puzzles. And so those have been cataloged, and we've seen some movement on them already. For me, it's about trying new things. And you know what? If it doesn't work, we can donate them forward. However, at this moment, I think there's a lot of possibility for that. And the big idea is, who cares if it comes back missing a piece? We don't. We're not going to inventory 1,000 or 2,000 pieces. We are.
Why not?
We're hoping that our patrons will tell us if they find something missing. But anyway, that's all there is on that. Staff meeting tomorrow, of course. I've already mentioned the informal welcome for John. The CLA is planning for their fundraiser later this year. I do not have dates yet, but that will be the more formal meet and greet and to welcome John on board on a community-wide level. On display, speaking of the brown bag, brown bag biographies is what that Maddie was talking about. Magdalena has put out a new set of series that the books are in envelopes, but they can pick from these different categories of series: real kids, magic, animals, and adventure. So again, just to put a little bit of spice into what you may or may not read. Jay put up this great bulletin board. I've zoomed in on a couple of the things that I titled it. We're not just a library. I have no idea, or the library is more than books. I'm not sure what her title was, but it just shares that there's a lot more available to our public. I really love the set of information on how to decipher a scan. When you talk about, a lot of people could use training figuring out that phishing and scams and that sort of thing could be extremely beneficial. On the security concerns, again, I have a emergency response background, so I bring a different set of eyes to this, and I know that. Again, my goal is just to lay the groundwork and see if we can't collectively come up with some solutions. For example, I'm concerned about how quickly we could lock the doors. Sue brought in today something that they use, or information on something they use at the school that will be an inexpensive, great improvement to where, I don't know, is it flipping a latch or something, it'll lock the doors. So it won't require the 4 screws that have to be unlocked or locked.
We have it at every push bar on our campus. It's $13.
Yeah, so that's the sort of thing. And I put out the word about the AED, and I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. The next day, I went to take it back out because I knew that we needed the electrodes updated and replaced. It was done, and it has a new battery in it. So that's the point in my last email that I sent out on a larger basis was who can help, because I don't know who does what. I did begin rewriting the emergency action plan that is outdated. And the first hiccup I ran into is that it says that the HR manager is in charge of that plan. Well, this plan that I have in-house is 12 years old, and that's simply not the case anymore. So I'm trying to find out, okay, who is responsible for getting it to us and keeping it updated? And, is it the library director? I don't know. But again, those are questions I hope to have answered for John so he can move forward and get everything done there. I do have a report on an incident there where a gentleman was there and apparently had a can of chicken open, and he had eaten it and hid it in a shelf. And it became known later because an odor was coming, and he had left at that point, but when he was asked about it, he became unruly, would be a good word to use. And ultimately, that patron has been trespassed from the property for a year.
Did you call the police, the Fallon police at that time?
They-
When the employees said they felt unsafe?
Yes.
Okay.
So the police have been involved. Jeff has been involved in helping on the paperwork side of that. So to my knowledge, we followed the expected protocol in that area.
Perfect.
I did have a question, and I clarified it with Jeff just the other day. In an email from somebody in the library, I don't need to say who, but it stated that a library employee would need to hand him the notice of trespass. And my thought is my staff is already a little uncomfortable with this person, so why would I ask them to hand a legal document? So Jeff advised me that it has to be posted. There are 3 ways. One is to post it in the building for 7 days.
Yeah, would you like me to speak on that? Or, yeah, so there's three ways to serve that notice of trespass. One is to, post it in a public place in the building for 7 days. Another is to mail it to the last known address if known, and then third is to personally deliver it, so to the person.
Thank you. We don't have a last known address for this person, so it has been posted. We cannot mail it, but if it needs to be delivered by a staff member, it will be me, not anybody else. We've not seen this person since, so at this moment, things are at a good point, so we'll we'll hope for the best on that. And then under the request for assistance, I don't know if you guys are the ones to ask, but again, we get the collective involved. Who can we meet with to get the building and everything evaluated? Once that information is garnered, it will need to be prioritized. And then once it's prioritized, then, whatever action will just need to be put out for that. We can presume that probably most any improvements might need some funding. And to my knowledge, and I don't have a lot of experience with fiscal budgets at this level, but essentially any larger ticket items, and I'm talking not very large or larger, will be presented in preparation for the next year's fiscal budget. Is that correct?
There are a variety of ways that we amend a budget that's already sitting. And then, yes, larger ticket items like that would be a process, right?
Right.
There's quite a few steps that we would need to do as we've done it. I've appreciated how you've put some of these questions out to give us the opportunity to learn, because within the county and within the county structure, I've been looking at those questions and thinking about them as well. And so as we learn through that, I'm glad that we're doing it so that John doesn't have to start from the floorboards here, and I'm glad that, you know, as you were saying, as you were asking some of those questions, you were getting a lot of advisement and collaboration and response in some of these places. To my understanding, and Jeff can correct me in some ways here, one of our responsibilities as a board is to be in discussion with that director on some of these priorities that will impact the budget at large, right? And so because the budget is something that any large amendment would need to come before us, the director would take some of this information that you're laying out in front of them, and then, you know, using all of the resources with the county and what they have at hand, giving us some indication of how they prioritized and what those priorities are, and then beginning that conversation with us. But you are correct that we would want some of the county's experts and other experts to assist us with things like security and safety readiness. None of us would do that without that kind of support.
Penny, I want to thank you for doing this. And looking back at Mr. Hong's background, he's probably got some places and experience where he's worked in all those areas. So thank you.
Absolutely. Again, I'm just laying the groundwork, and we'll go from there. And I'm happy to say, in particular, with the information that Sue's just shared on the doors, that we're not in a terrible situation. We are in a situation that has room for improvement, a fair amount, but we're not in a terrible situation. So as we continue to get the word to whomever, I think we're going to find, you know, many more solutions, and many of them may not cost money. Well, you know, John will just be able to combine his own experience with whatever he's learning here about the local and go from there. So.
I'm curious, as we talk about lending you support, I'm wondering, kind of going back to that open position, is there anything that the board can do to lend you support there? Or have you started the process and it's just wait and see there?
Unfortunately, the last word before I asked Kim if she would beg again, was that it could not be posted until John is in-house, so October 20th. The downside of that is the delays because it has to be
Who made
posted.
that decision? Who'd she ask?
There's a board that had to approve the waiver request, and I'm not claiming that everything I'm saying is absolutely on, but as I understand
Jeff,
it.
would you find out for us?
Yeah, can you speak to this at all about the
Who said
process for
no?
this, and if there's anything we
Okay.
I
as
think
a
it's a
board can
great
do?
idea that we get it out
Oh,
there.
I think that, yes, and certainly, and you can speak to this too, but as a board, we would probably love to have all of that knowledge, and we are all unified in our support on this, but we don't actually adjudicate the county hiring process. We can simply, as impassioned members that care about this, continue to make our voice heard, and we can receive that kind of information.
Yeah, so I can speak generally. I have not been involved in this process at all in this particular case. Typically, there's a county policy that when an employee position becomes vacant, it goes before an employee review board to see if that position is to be retained. Following that decision to see when should it be posted, should there be a delay in posting, should there not be a delay. And so it goes before that committee. And so generally that's how it works. I don't know how it's worked specifically here. Regarding the board's request to, well, is there anything you can do to help? Today, this is not agendized for an action item, and so the board would not be able to make any decisions today based on this, but that's my general overview of that question.
And I apologize, I should have double-checked with Kim. She's not had the time probably to answer my last begging. I am begging, I'm just saying. But and push come to shove, the calendar is moving along very quickly, and October 20th will be here, and we will get that job posted. So, certainly. Anything else? I think that was my long book.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the level of detail that you've given us here. I also appreciate that you've been working with the county to get more of that information. We're all kind of, as we meet some of these problems and as we learn about these problems and we get this information from you and from the county, it gives us opportunities to learn how to be better advocates. And so if we need to put out advocacy or letters of support or any of these other things that we can do from our purview, that helps us as they come up before the agenda. But it also helps us when we look at the budget to recognize historically where things have become a pattern, where needs have become things that are repeating, and the seasonality to having a sustainable operation. So you've been very, very good at making sure that we are being educated, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Remember when it's time to do the budget again? A lot of labor money was not spent this year. That doesn't mean we don't need it. I'm just saying.
Can I ask, it's just kind of logistical, and I'm sort of still new, even though it feels like it's been a while since I got here, but I'm curious. So do I get to decide what goes on the agenda in some way? And how does that work? Do I petition to get something on the agenda? Do I talk about it at this meeting for the October meeting? What does that look like?
There are lots of ways. And Jeff, why don't you walk us through the process as it sits? But to my understanding, we can all make requests.
Yes, generally the chair controls the agenda for the board. You can request, whether it's through the library director, you can talk to our office or to Pam and the clerk's office as far as...
Because it would be unwise for me to communicate directly with Jessica, right?
I mean, you can. I mean, thinking back on our training, that
Right.
Board members can communicate as long as there's not a quorum, right? As long as there's not more than a majority. But then again, we're cognizant of walking quorums, that if everyone talks to the next person, then all of a sudden we have a quorum. So keeping those things in mind. So it can be brought to the chair of the board, understanding those parameters and those cautions, but it can be also brought to the library director, who goes over that agenda. Our office, the district attorney's office, reviews that and approves it as well. And so there's any number of people that you can talk to try to get that on an agenda.
Thank you. And what's the timeline for that?
Well, the requirements by statute are that we have to post the agenda, by 9 a.m. 3 days before the meeting, 3 business days. And so if we're on a Thursday meeting, it needs to be posted by Monday at 9 a.m. We try not to get up against the clock so close, and so we try by Thursday or Friday the week before. Okay. And so generally a week and a half or so before is probably a good time to say I should have that information at least by then, so it can get on the agenda.
Thank you.
If I might add one more thing. I'm pretty animated, I guess, but this young lady over here is, oh my gosh, when you just step into a position that you really don't know much about, and you're beginning to board reports and timelines, and Pam, thank you. She's been extremely patient with me, and I'm hoping that, I'm not hoping, I've got information in play for John so that maybe she won't have to work so hard to keep helping us out. And Jeff as well. It takes a village, and all of the board members and the support. Remember, we're not afloat, we're thriving.
Perfect.
And I have found everyone to be helpful also.
Yeah. And Jeff, is there any way we can give Pam a raise? Just kidding. I've been in trouble twice today. Not at this meeting.
Thank you so much, Pam. To that end, it was a nice segue into this next agenda item where we're talking about setting the date and time of our regular library board meeting, and we have it posted for the 23rd, which will be after John comes on deck in the role. We probably ought to consider having a very short special meeting to review a mechanism for compensating Penny for any transition work that she will be doing to help John get his feet under him, smooth any of that process, and answer those questions. We recognize that at transition points, there's time being spent. And so we don't want, and we know that because you care and because you've done some work, you're going to be available, you'll answer those questions, and we know that that's time. So in preparation for that, because the contract, as we've written it, ends on the 20th, we would probably do well to have a space where we could look at that and approve it. So,
Yes, I think that would be appropriate if that's what the board wants. Obviously, it's not agendized today, so you can't discuss it, but, I mean, if we wanted to set, or if you wanted to set a special meeting kind of that week before the 20th, when Mr. Hong starts, for a brief, it could be a call-in meeting, whatever, whatever could be accommodated for board members, it'd be a short one. But whether it's to do another contract, to just amend the current contract, myself and HR can kind of discuss that with Penny, to see how to go about that and present something to the board. But if there was something that week before the 20th, that would work. That would give time to get those discussions completed, to get a contract or an amendment done, to get the agenda posted and have it before the board.
I appreciate that. And since it isn't agendized, you will manage communication with us on when we will.
We could do that. I mean, we could get some dates from the clerk's office to see what's available and to see when board members are available. No action is needed, but we could take the temperature of where people can be there and what schedules are looking like.
Right.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. I think that that's just, as we try to wrap this up, we want to do that with an acknowledgement that there's human labor going into this, and
Yeah,
and we
and
want
I
to
think it's
compensate it.
important that as needed, as requested by the new director, because I worked with a lot of people that came in and they said, no, I'm okay. I got this. You can leave. Okay, bye. And I don't know what kind of personality he would be, but I think it would be up to the director. I know Penny has a lot to offer, but I'd like to put that in as requested by the new director. He has to agree to it.
Yeah, and we'll talk with Penny and see what her availability is and those kind of things,
Okay.
and then we can have
Okay.
that discussion kind of as we bring that at the next.
I'm sure you have a lot to
next board
offer,
meeting.
but you know how some people are.
Right. I appreciate all of that, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that this isn't an agendized topic. I don't want to go really down an avenue of getting into the details of it, but I do want to make sure that we're making room to acknowledge and discuss that, because we're going to need it prior to the next time we meet, so. Beyond that, October
Madam
20th.
Chair?
Oh, yes.
If you guys would like to look at your calendars right now, the room is available on the 16th and the 17th. It's also available on the 13th and 14th, so it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday that the room is available.
Pam, I think the 13th is Columbus Day or whatever it's called these days. I didn't know if government buildings would be closed on that
No,
day.
we're not
Oh,
closed.
okay, okay, thank you.
Could we do a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, you could Zoom or call in.
Okay.
What would be convenient?
It would actually be a go-to meeting, Sue, so we need to get you signed up for that so we don't have our technical issues again. And I'm happy to help you with that.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I can come if I don't have kids, but if I already have kids,
Right.
I don't want to cancel a kid unless we meet at 4 o'clock.
And I'm open at whatever time, yes. I
Okay.
was going to suggest that if
Okay.
you guys want to do it a little later in the day or even the start of the evening,
Perfect.
I'm available. I will come in and do that for you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Just to make sure I have the dates correct, you had said the 13th and 14th and the 16th and 17th, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I know that Sue has indicated in the past that a noon gives her a lot more flexibility. This is a short situation. We'll only have one agenda item, and call-in seems to be appropriate for most.
Noon on Wednesday and Thursday is best for me.
So
That would
Thursday,
be
the 16th would be good for
Thursday the
you.
Yeah,
16th.
it would be good.
I won't be here that week. I'm in Arizona taking care of my grandma that week, so.
I will also be out of state, but could certainly take on a Zoom. All we need is a quorum.
Right, I don't know if I could even do a Zoom call with my grandma, so.
Okay. Is everybody else available at the time that Pam has mentioned, noon on the 16th?
Yes, I should be available
Okay,
at noon on the
Yes.
16th.
okay. So it looks like we would have a quorum. Let's go ahead and, if we can, if we're able to do that at this time, let's go ahead and make sure that we've set that so that we are in place to help.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel like I'm channeling what Maddie was saying and housing that, the feeling of that comment, because even though we've been here for a while, sometimes the procedures, we want to make sure we're doing it right. So, thank you. And the 23rd stands as such, so we can be done with that agenda item as well. So now we are on to new business. 11, item A, consideration and possible action regarding the approval of the closing of the library on November 29th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I think in the interest of time, we could probably take those two agenda items together because they're very like to each other. We have November 29th. Oh, I guess I was misreading, I apologize, but item A and item D, alternative meeting dates. Okay, so never mind, let's not consolidate them, I was misreading. So under that item, the approval of closing of the library on November 29th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, traditionally we do this. So does anybody have any concerns about that or discussion? Then I would take a motion to approve the closing of the library.
I'd like to make a motion that we close the library on November 29th, 2025.
Thank you, Sue. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ryan. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. All right. So item B, consideration and possible action regarding approval of the monthly budget reports for August 2025. Do we have any discussion or questions on that budget that we need to house?
I was really excited about the budget. I saw all the items that I highlighted to, I didn't see certain things on there, like we were still at 100% for the director's salary, and I'm all, why isn't Penny getting paid? I was kind of freaking out about that, but then I looked further through the budget and saw that contractor items or something like that, it was taken out of there. So I'm very grateful we're paying you, Penny, and you aren't just free flying, so.
Any other comments? Thank you, Sari.
You're welcome.
So if we're good with discussion on that one, I'd take a motion to approve that monthly budget report for August 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly budget report for August 2025.
Thank you, Sari. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ryan. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. And C is like unto it, consideration and possible action regarding the approval of the library gift fund report for August 2025. Do we have any discussion or question on that report that we need to house? Everybody is super crickety. All right, so hearing none, I'd take a motion to approve that report.
I'll make a motion to approve the library gift fund report for 2025 as submitted.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sue was
You
first.
already started, Sue.
You're good.
I'll second it.
So the motion is seconded by Sue. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. The motion carries. All right, the last one, the one that I tried to jump into. Consideration and possible action regarding the establishment of alternative meeting dates in November and December due to Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. And I remember we've had to do this we have had to do this before. So, do we have any suggestions?
Jeff, by law, the NRS, do we have to have a meeting every month?
trying to remember, I read them not terribly long ago. I think it does say to meet monthly on the designated day, or if
Okay.
they can't, on a different day.
Okay, I just wondered, because December's kind of short for everybody.
Would November 20th, just the week before, be worth considering? It
That
is.
is a Thursday.
It is a Thursday, and I think that that is how we solved the problem in the past. So if November 20th works for that month's board meeting, we could just do the same time as normal. And I'm getting a nod from Pam, so November 20th, and then for December,
The 18th?
yeah, we moved it the week before last year, so does the 18th serve? Okay. So the suggestion is November 20th and December 18th at our traditional 3 o'clock time. So would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that we make November 20th and December 18th the alternative dates for our meetings for November and December.
Thank you, Ryan. And at the traditional time. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Sari. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, we are now to the second point of public comment in the meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to make a comment at this time? It's like looking at a classroom. Everybody's like, my eyes are anywhere but up here. So hearing none, we can move to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.